Hey, what's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? What's going on? Dean Kulaweera here. Thanks so much for tuning in every Wednesday. I'm right here, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, to help you folks out with job search tips, advice, strategies that you can utilize in your job search. All right. So, hey, don't be shy. Let me know who you are. Introduce yourself in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, what city you represent, and what you do. Like what field are you in? What's your skill set? What's your background? Would love for it to be an opportunity for all of you to connect with each other as well, right? And form your own community. We got Vivek Narayan in the house. Hey, Vivek, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in, and great to see you here. Where are you from, Vivek? Let us know in the comments. And yeah, folks, don't be shy. Introduce yourself in the comments. Today's topic that I'm going to be speaking about is simply, hey, look, obviously there's this trend, folks, right? In many companies, definitely in the tech space, but not just tech, like many different industries where 100% remote work is possible. And what I wanted to speak about today is, how does this affect your job search, right? Because there is an effect on how people job search and the impact that it has on their job search. This stuff, I mean, this trend, while it is exciting and it is great, I wanted to provide a balanced view today, my own perspective, my own thoughts about how this affects the job search. Hey, we got Haki in the house. Hey, Haki, how's it going? Good to see you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you're doing great. And we got Sai Charan Kurela in the house. Hey, Charan, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. And Vivek is a business analyst, consultant, capital markets in Toronto. That's more like it, Vivek. Glad to see you here, and thanks so much for tuning in. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, folks, is how this whole trend towards 100% remote, how is that going to affect you as a job seeker, as a potential job seeker, as an active job seeker, a passive job seeker? Well, hey, maybe you're just here, you're out of curiosity, right, to check it out. For those of you tuning in for the first time, again, my name is Dean Kulaweera. Every Wednesday, I go live right here, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Is there another place? No, I mean, those are the main platforms that I'm live on. So, hey, I'm here to present you folks with job search tips and advice and strategies. We got Nawaz Sayani in the house. Hey, Nawaz, good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you're watching the replay, appreciate you watching the replay. If you want to tune in live, remember it's 11 a.m. Eastern time zone on Wednesdays. And by the way, folks, while I'm getting into today's session, feel free to put any questions you have in the comments as well. Right now, I'm going to kick things off. And again, for those of you tuning in who just tuned in, I'm going to be speaking about the effect of the 100% remote work trend that is currently pretty evident as a result of COVID-19. And even as we transition out of COVID-19, many people are saying, or many sources, I've read many articles where people are saying, hey, this work from home thing, 100% work from home, while it's not going to be evident in all industries, for the industries where 100% work from home is possible, this will be a permanent trend. Like there are going to be many companies, many industries that will keep this as a policy moving forward, right? Now, today, I'm not going to talk about the hybrid setup. I'm not talking about hybrid jobs. I'm talking today about 100% remote, and definitely something that is affecting the tech sector, but even the industries and sectors outside of tech. And by the way, if you're not an IT professional, if you're not in tech, you're in a different industry, I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Like if you're in accounting, finance, customer service, sales, what have you seen in your industry? Is it mostly 100% remote, or are you currently working 100% remote in other industries? Definitely let me know in the comments, and hit me up with a like and a share, folks. And let's get into today's segment, all right? So the first thing that I want to do is I wanted to actually share an article, a link that I came across, which was by Kate Chapman, who is editor at LinkedIn News. And she wrote a brief about tech wars for talent heat up. And I'm just going to read an excerpt of what she said. So what Kate Chapman says is, work from home has given big tech a big edge in the race to hire, with employees no longer having to locate in coastal epicenters to work at a Facebook or Google. The development is pinching small tech companies that used to wield their relatively offbeat locations as a draw for talent. One Bozeman, Montana startup tells the Wall Street Journal it's now competing with San Francisco and New York companies for hires, even as those companies poach employees from far-flung spots where they can still live and work. So look, I mean, it's a good point, right? That Kate Chapman, who is again an editor at LinkedIn News, wrote in that piece. And I wanted to share with you folks some more interesting stats that I read from Stats Canada, okay, Statistics Canada, about working from home during the COVID-19 pandemic. Some pretty interesting stats. And if you're taking notes, you want to take note of these, right? And by the way, if you want the link to these articles, just message me after the live stream, and I'll send you the links to these articles, because these are pretty interesting, and you need to be well informed, especially if you're a job seeker, about these, right? So let's see here. So from StatsCan, I was reading a recent study where they said working from home, a new experiment for many Canadian workers and employers. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the work location of thousands of Canadian workers. From April 2020 to June 2021, 30% of employees aged 15 to 64 who worked during the labor force survey reference week had performed most of their hours from home. In contrast, about 4% of employees did so in 2016. Folks, that is huge. That is a significant difference from 4% back in 2016 to 30% between April 2020 to June 2021. 30% of employees in that age range were working primarily from home. Huge difference, right? Now, some more stats that I saw in the Statistics Canada survey was from April 2020 to June 2021, 45% of dual earner salaried couples in the top 10% of the earnings distribution had both spouses working from home. This was 9 times the rate of 5% observed from their counterparts in the bottom 10% of the earnings distribution. All right, so what does that mean? That means most of you, if you're working in a high income position, or maybe you've got a spouse or a significant other, you're a dual income couple or whatnot, right? If you're in a high income position, chances are you're probably working primarily remotely, right? Now, another interesting stat was roughly 7 in 10 workers in finance and insurance, as well as professional, scientific, and technical services worked from home. 7 out of 10, folks, 70% of people working in finance, insurance, professional, scientific, and technical services work from home. Now, the StatsCan survey says, as expected, the propensity to work from home varied substantially across industries, right? Because like I said before, this is not every industry. Not every industry is able to have its employees working remotely. So we're talking today about those that can have this work from home setup. So it goes on to say roughly 7 in 10 individuals in the finance and insurance and professional, scientific, and technical services sector work from home from April 2020 to June 2021. At the other end of the spectrum, 5% of workers in accommodation and food services perform their jobs from home during that period. So again, folks, not every industry, right? But I'm just sharing with you some stats in terms of what this survey is talking about, right? Again, this is the Statistics Canada survey. Now, it also goes on to say working from home was also fairly frequent in information and cultural industries, 65%, and public administration, 56%. And it also goes on to say in many industries, employees in large firms, those with 500 employees or more, were more likely to work from home than those in small firms, those with fewer than 20 employees. For example, 80% of employees of large firms in professional, scientific, and technical services work from home from April 2020 to June 2021. In contrast, 54% of their counterparts employed in small firms work from home during the same period. In the private sector, 36% of employees of large firms worked from home, twice the rate of 18% observed of those working in small firms. Big difference. The large differences observed across industries and firm sizes from April 2020 to June 2021 suggest that employers' preferences for telework in a post-COVID-19 context might differ along those 2 dimensions. So look, folks, I was just sharing with you some stats, right? Now, if you want to link to those articles, feel free to send me a message after the stream, and I'm happy to share the links to those articles from the LinkedIn article, as well as the Statistics Canada survey results, right? I mean, these are very interesting stats that you need to be aware of. We got some comments here. So we got, so Vivek says 100% remote trend has probably increased in hiring space in my space, since organizations are able to save costs on other things. Yeah, absolutely, Vivek. Thanks so much for sharing that, right? I mean, definitely in the tech sector, in IT, this is definitely a trend that's here to stay. We got Edward in the house. Hey, Edward, good to see you here. Great. I hope you're doing great. Edward says, hey, Dean, dropping in from Toronto, but also remote watching from Europe. Hey, that's awesome. Fantastic there, Edward. Hope you're doing great. Coel says, I'm working on IT support, looking for IT recruitment job. Okay, great. Thanks for tuning in, Coel. Vivek says, I'm in for hybrid work. Otherwise, I feel jobs can be outsourced overseas for cheapest cost. And Edward says, the pandemic forced an acceleration of work from home that firms had to embrace in order to survive. Probably 5 to 15 years earlier that they would have wanted to do so. Yeah, exactly. So, folks, what I'm going to do today, so going from those stats, and appreciate everyone in the comments, and feel free to keep the comments coming, folks. What I'm sharing today is what I see as 3 impacts that 100% remote jobs are going to have on job seekers, right? So today I'm not talking about the actual employees working in the job or the working trends. I'm not talking about that. What I'm seeing is, as a result of 100% remote work jobs, right? This trend that is apparent, how this is going to affect you in your job search, and how this is going to affect job seekers, because this will affect job seekers, folks. This will affect how you approach your job search, right? And I'm going to talk about 3 things. So if you're taking notes, you definitely want to be taking notes today. I'm talking about 3 things, 3 ways in which this is going to impact your job search and how you approach your job search. Now, observation number 1 is, which is probably the most exciting one, all right? This is a positive, major positive, is the job market just got larger, right? This is a positive thing for job seekers. The job market, you now have a larger potential pool of employment opportunities, right? Whereas before this whole pandemic, and maybe a couple of years ago, if you lived in Toronto, chances are you have the best option, you have the best opportunities or best ability to score interviews with companies on the ground in Toronto. Why? Because most companies expected you to come in person, right, to do your job and do your work. So now, because of this trend towards more flexibility, and many companies, especially in tech, and obviously from those survey results in financial services, customer service, sales jobs, where whatever professions, if you're able to work 100% remote, your pool of potential employers just got bigger, folks. It's really exciting, actually, right? And again, this goes for those of you who are working in professions that do have the propensity or the ability to work 100% remote. Your potential pool of employers, folks, I mean, it just got huge, right? Because now if you're living in Toronto, you're not just you shouldn't just be looking for opportunities in Toronto. If you're living in Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec City, Vancouver, Houston, New York City, San Diego, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, wherever you are, folks, because of this new now acceptance of companies being okay with people working 100% remote, your potential employer pool just got bigger. And I would encourage all of you, in order to take advantage of this, look beyond your local city, right? And again, this applies to those of you who are working in professions where 100% remote is possible, right? So unfortunately, this is not for everyone. Not all of you can take advantage of this. But if you're working in a profession where it is possible to work 100% remote, and I'm not talking about preferences here, all right? So some of you might have a preference for hybrid and being in the office and 100% remote. We're not talking about preferences here. I'm just saying how you can take advantage of this. So observation number one is, look beyond your city. If you're in a profession where location is not an issue, where you can work 100% remote, you now have more opportunities that you can potentially apply to. Companies are not going to rule you out because you're in a different city, folks. I mean, look, as a recruiter, if we were having this discussion like a couple of years ago, most of the hiring teams I used to recruit for, and by the way, I recruit in tech. Okay, so tech's supposed to be like the most forward-thinking, industry that's most adaptable to these trends. But even in tech, I used to, most of the hiring teams that I used to recruit for, they were adamant about candidates being on the ground, local, in the same city, right? Because they expected their employees to be on site at the office. That has changed, folks, right? This has changed. So now I don't want you folks only looking at your local city. Look at other cities outside of province, outside of state, across the country, right? Maybe in a different country might not be possible, but definitely in your same country. Look at different cities, different municipalities, different even places that might be a few hours away from you, right? Employers are much more open to it if you are in a profession that has this ability for you to work 100% remote. And not just employers, recruiters as well, folks. You need to be reaching out. If you're in IT, for example, or if you're a tech professional, don't just reach out to recruiters in Toronto now. You need to be reaching out to recruiters in Montreal, Ottawa. If you're in Canada, by the way, Montreal, Ottawa, Nova Scotia, PEI, Vancouver, I don't know, wherever else, folks. If you're in the US, hey, if you're in New York City, don't just stick to applying for jobs or looking at opportunities in New York City. Look outside of the state. Look outside into other areas of the country. You want to be looking at Los Angeles, San Diego. You want to be looking at Dallas, Houston, whatever other city that you know has a need for people with your skills, your ability, your knowledge. Companies are much more open. And again, I just wanted to again clarify, right? This might not be the case with every profession out there, might not be the case with every industry out there, but this has certainly, and this is the exciting thing for those of you, if you're a job seeker, you need to get excited about this. Your potential employer pool just got way huge, way bigger, folks, way bigger. So do not restrict yourself. And again, this is my observation number one. Do not restrict yourself only to your city. Look outside of your city, outside of your county, your municipality, your province. Look across the country, whatever your location is, because employers are going to be way more open to having conversations with you and seriously considering you as a candidate, right? And as a recruiter, again, just a few years ago, even hiring within tech, within IT, most hiring teams were like, no, we need people that are in the same city as us, same location. We need them on site. We need them to travel on site. That might no longer be the case, folks. All right. Exception will be maybe if it's a hybrid work environment where they want people to, part of the time work from home and part of the time come into the office. That's a different story. I'm talking about 100% remote. If your profession has the ability to work 100% remote, do not restrict yourself only looking for opportunities within the same city as you. You need to be looking outside of the province, outside of the state, outside of your local, wherever you are residing. All right. So that's observation number one. Now, before I get into my other observations, let me know if you want to share any thoughts or questions in the comments. I definitely want to hear those. So let's see here. So Gaurav says, agreed, hybrid will be the future, 1 to 2 days in the office. Yeah, absolutely, Gaurav, right? I mean, this is something that's here to stay, definitely here to stay. And I also see, Gaurav, like, frankly, especially in tech, I see 100% remote being a new thing as well, as a permanent trend. Because there are many, many roles out there, and I can only speak on behalf of tech because I recruit in tech, but I'm sure this might be the case in other industries as well out there. But I definitely see 100% remote work being very much a real conversation, right? So thanks so much for sharing that, Gaurav. I know that you're in the field and you definitely see that as well. So observation number 2, folks, is, now this might be a bit of a downside, but don't freak out, all right? Don't panic, because I'm going to show you how you can potentially separate yourself and stand out. But trend number 2 is, folks, unfortunately, this does mean more competition. All right. So yes, it's exciting that you're able to compete for roles in other cities and other provinces, other states, other locations. But this also means that that's the case for everyone else as well, right? So now this means more competition. So you might potentially be competing against a larger pool of talent as well, right? So although you do have that benefit of exploring opportunities in other cities and other locations, we have to accept the flip side of the equation as well, in that there's a larger pool of potential talent that you're competing against. Because now you're not just competing against people here in Toronto, right? If you're in Toronto, you're not just competing against applicants here in Toronto. You're also competing against applicants in Vancouver, Ottawa, Montreal, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, that might be competing over those 100% remote jobs, because now their physical location is not an issue. And they're now competing over the same jobs in your local city, right? And if physical presence at the job is not an issue, then hiring teams considering people from outside of province, outside of the city that they're in, is not going to be an issue either as well, right? So you're not just going to be competing with people in the same city as you. You're competing with equally competent people in various locations. Now, here's the challenging thing, right? And if you're watching this, you definitely want to pay attention to this part, because this is so important. The reason why this presents itself as a challenge is you are competing with people equally talented as you, but potentially from other parts of the country or in other cities in the country that have a lower cost of living, which means that they're willing to put themselves and present themselves at lower salary rates and ranges as well. Right. So this is the challenge. So think about this, right? So if you're a hiring manager, right, and you got a 100% remote job opportunity available right now. Let's say you're looking for a software developer, right? You got someone applying from Toronto, higher cost of living, higher salary expectations, all that stuff. But on the flip side, you got someone from, let's say, Nova Scotia, right? Equally as talented as you are, applying for the same job, same knowledge, same skill set, right? Pretty much the same. Like you're pretty much neck on neck with this other competing candidate. But they have in Nova Scotia, they have a low cost of living, lower salary expectations. And this remote worker, 100% remote worker in Nova Scotia is going to present themselves, same skill, same knowledge, same expertise, same value they bring to the table, but at a lower cost of the company. That is the challenge, folks. How are you going to compete with these people now who are able to compete with you for these 100% remote positions across the country? Location is no longer an issue. Equal footing, equal skill set, equal knowledge, equal expertise. How are you going to compete with someone who's now coming in at a lower salary expectation? This is the thing that nobody's talking about. Everyone's excited about 100% remote. Oh, yay, 100% remote. I can work from home. Hey, that's great. And there's definitely an exciting part about that. Like I spoke about in observation number 1, larger pool of employer talent, right? Employers you can apply to. But this is the challenge no one's talking about right now. How do you compete with people in other parts of the country that can present themselves at a lower asking salary and rate? That will be a challenge, a very real challenge for job seekers moving forward, especially for those of you in industries and in fields where 100% remote is possible. So you need to be able to these are things you got to be thinking about, folks, right? And definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know, how are you going to compete with lower salary expectation, lower salary and rate expectation individuals from other parts of the country? How are you best going to position yourself? I'd definitely love to hear your thoughts. I'm going to share my thoughts about this in the next point, which is point number 3, which I wanted to share, which will be a result of this second point I just discussed in terms of how do you compete, folks? How do you compete with someone who has the same knowledge, same skills, same expertise as you from another part of the country with a lower cost of living that's presenting themselves at a way lower salary and asking rate? And I just want to make this point clear in terms of why this is so important. Let's just look up average salary, all right? So let's just look this up right now. I'm just going to share my screen because I want you to know I'm not just randomly coming up with some average salary stuff, right? So anyway, you should be able to see my screen here. So I just put a search for average software developer salary in Toronto, right? And let me know if it looks like you folks can see my screen. But I just put in a Google search, right? And again, these are just average. We're just playing with ballpark numbers here. But I just put a search here: average software developer salary Toronto. All right, so we're talking about here in Toronto, and the first link here is PayScale. So we're gonna go with PayScale. So PayScale says the average software developer salary in Toronto, Ontario, is around $71,183 per year. That's average, right? Now, obviously, there's developers making more than that, and obviously, there's developers making less than that. But on average, in Toronto, the average salary for a software developer is $71,183 per year, Canadian dollars. All right. Now let's go back. Let's change the city now, right? So now we were talking about remote work. We're talking about 100% remote work here. Let's try Nova Scotia. Well, what is the average salary for a software developer out of Nova Scotia? So we go there and we see that the average salary for a software developer based out of Nova Scotia, Halifax, Nova Scotia, is $64,055 per year. $64,000, folks. $64,000 per year is the average software developer salary for a developer based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, versus $71,000 per year Canadian for a software developer based out of Toronto. Right now, what does this tell you, folks? I'm showing you this not to freak you out, not to make you folks panic, but to let you know the realities of competing in this new environment where your physical location is no longer an issue. Are you prepared, folks, to compete against someone in another part of the country, right? That has the same skills, same knowledge, or let's say not same, let's say similar, like similar skills, similar knowledge, similar expertise, similar years of experience. How are you going to do it, folks? How are you going to compete with someone in another part of the country that's positioning themselves at a lower asking salary and rate? All right, this is something all of you need to really, really think about, really, really hard, because this is a new reality, right? That I don't see a lot of people talking about on LinkedIn. Everyone's all happy about the 100% remote. Well, I want to look. Hey, Dean's here every Wednesday 11 a.m. I don't always talk about the positive stuff. I want to give you the realistic outlook on how this affects you as a potential job seeker. right? So this is the stuff you need to be thinking about with these 100% remote positions. How are you going to skillfully position yourself at your asking salary and rate when there's other people competing for the same roles where their physical location is not an issue and they're living in a part of the country where there's a lower cost of living and they're able to present themselves at a lower salary and asking rate to the same employer? How are you going to do this, folks? Now, look, the answer is not to lower your own salary and rate, right? That is not the answer. The answer is not to lower your own salary and rate, which brings me to observation number 3, right? The previous 2 points, what these tell me, and in my opinion, what this tells me is going to happen in terms of how people need to address these trends is with this whole 100% remote thing is the increased importance, folks, of standing out. You have to know how to stand out. There's going to, so what I foresee happening moving forward with this advent of increasing openness to 100% remote workers is, and this is observation number 3, is way more importance on how you can stand out. This is what's going to allow you to retain your asking salary and rate and not have to go down just to compete with people in other parts of the country that might be presenting themselves at much lower. Because your response should not be, if you're in Toronto, you're trying to compete with people in other parts of the country, for example, that are positioning themselves at a cheaper rate. Your response should not necessarily be to lower your rates. That is not the right response. What you need to be doing, and the new trend here, and what I foresee happening, is increased ability to stand out. Now, there's 3 areas where you need that can help you do this, folks. Now, number 1 is you got to be your communication, how you approach employers, how you approach recruiters. Your communication needs to be top notch. It needs to be top notch, and you need to be an excellent communicator. And I don't care if you're an extrovert, introvert, anything in between, folks. Communication skills is going to be way more important, regardless of what kind of a role you are. You're like, Dean, I'm a software developer. All I need to do is good coding. No, folks. If you're a software developer, you're someone who's more so behind the scenes. You don't have to deal with people. It does not matter at the interview stage. If you're interviewing, you're job searching, your communication skills are now going to be way more important, because your communication skills is how you're going to be able to articulate and communicate the value that you bring to the table. So what I foresee happening is, as a result of these 100% remote positions and the increased competition that this is going to result in for job seekers, number one out of this is importance of strong communication skills. You have to be an excellent communicator. Now, if you need help in terms of how you can communicate to potential employers, and how do you apply for jobs online, how do you stand out in that sense, and how do you communicate with recruiters and hiring teams, and if you've been doing that and if you don't know how to compete, make sure you sign up for my free masterclass. All right, if you haven't done so already, in my free masterclass, I talk about the 3-step process that you need to take and utilizing those communication skills in increasing your responses from hiring teams. So you can check out that free masterclass. It's at dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass, dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass, dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass. Check it out, folks. It's like a 45-minute video where I talk about how you need to be applying for jobs, and this is very much relevant in relation to this new trend, where your communication skills, how you present yourself to potential hiring managers and recruiters, is going to be very, very important in response to this higher level of competition as a result of 100% remote work. Now, the other part of this is, and tip number 2 in regards to how you can stand out more effectively in this more competitive market, is stronger interviewing skills. Folks, I definitely foresee stronger interviewing skills as paramount to you competing against lower salary, lower rate individuals from other parts of the country you might be competing with. Interviewing skills are going to be extremely, extremely important. If you can articulate and communicate why an organization should consider you, by the way, who will be working remotely versus someone else who's working remotely from Nova Scotia, who's willing to come in at a lower salary and rate. If you cannot articulate and interview spick and span, top notch, and show why the company should still pay you more, then you're in trouble. You're going to be in trouble, folks, at least in relation to these 100% remote jobs. Or you're going to have to default to lowering your salary expectations, which is not the route I want you to take. I do not want you to take that route, folks. It is possible to keep your salary rate and expectations and not have to reduce it simply to match up with some other person or individual that might not need as much salary as you do, right? So the second thing is, in order to address this high level of competition across the country now, is stronger interviewing skills. So if you haven't done so already, folks, you need to be learning how to interview effectively. Now, I do provide one-on-one coaching services. So if you want more information about that, feel free to hit me up with a direct message. But even if you don't want to use my help personally, you need to start reading books, going online, researching maybe, right? Go to some credible sources that you know. You need to improve your interview muscle, your interview skills. This is going to be extremely important moving forward. I foresee this as being extremely important. So communication skills, interviewing skills, these are going to be extremely, extremely important moving forward. If you're going to want to compete, again, folks, I'm just giving you the reality of the situation, right? As more and more of these 100% remote work jobs become evident and prevalent, and you're competing against people in other parts of the country that are willing to go in at a lower rate and lower salary, right? So if nothing else, you need to be putting some time and effort and practice into building your communication skills and your interview muscles. And again, if you want to know how I can help you with my one-on-one coaching or with my virtual training courses, feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to share more information with you regarding that. Now, the third thing I wanted to talk about, which will help you stand out against lower priced competition in the marketplace. All right. And this is a stronger skill set. Look, if you have the exact same skills, basic skills, knowledge, expertise as someone from some other part of the country competing over these 100% remote jobs, then in order for you to better justify an organization here in Toronto paying a higher salary for you versus someone, again, who's positioning themselves much lower in another part of the country, but who's willing to work 100% remote, then you need to be showing them what enhanced skills, expertise, knowledge that you bring to the table. So the other trend that I see happening is just more investment in more skills, right? Whatever your field is, whatever your expertise is, whatever your field is, whatever your industry is, what you need to be doing right now is really, really researching the trends in your industry. What skills are really sought out? What additional skills are really sought out? What are the trends in your industry? What are the certifications that are really, really important in your industry? You might want to look into researching and investing in some of those folks. So again, it makes it much more easier for you to present yourself to local companies here in Toronto or wherever your location is, so that they see, okay, yeah, we should probably consider paying this person more because they have more of the relevant skills. They got some high demand skills. They got the certifications. They've invested in upgrading themselves, and they've just got way more they bring to the table versus some other people that might be presenting themselves at a lower asking salary from another part of the country for this remote job, right? So those are the three things that I see that are going to be, I would say, definitely long-term, if not permanent trends. In order for you folks to address and compete for these 100% remote opportunities, right? So again, how can you address these high levels of competition for 100% remote work? Well, again, number one, communication skills. I see that as being extremely important. It's always been important, but I see this even more important now, right? Especially for these 100% remote jobs that you're competing over. You need to be a great communicator so you can articulate and communicate your value. Number two, stronger interviewing skills. You have to be a top-notch interviewer, folks. Interviewing is a skill in and of itself, right? If you're not good at interviewing, you're not able to really, again, communicate and articulate your value to the hiring team. So the hiring team can see, okay, yeah, let's hire this person who has a higher asking salary and rate versus someone else in some other part of the country who's willing to work 100% remote. If you're not able to interview well and really sell them on your value, this will be a hindrance, and you will have to default to lowering your salary and rate, right? And I don't want you to do that. So in regards to those two things, if you need my help with that, feel free to send me a direct message. I do have paid coaching services and paid programs that you can use to help you with that. And then the third thing is look into and research trends in your industry, folks. Trends in your own industry, your own field, your own space. In terms of new technologies, new things, new methodologies, new frameworks, new things that you need to be learning, new skills, up and coming skills, right? What are the trends? What are some of the hot certifications right now that you can use to really stand out versus other people in other parts of the country that are going to be competing for the same jobs that you are, folks, but maybe at a lower asking salary and rate, right? So look, these are the three observations I wanted to make today, right? Observation number one, again, just to summarize, is and the good news is with these 100% remote jobs, larger potential employment opportunities, right? Don't just think about applying for jobs in your local city. Think about across country, right? Because if it's possible to work 100% remote in your job, chances are companies are going to be way open, much more open now to consider you seriously as a serious candidate for these positions. Observation number 2, more competition, folks. It also means more competition. The physical barriers are no longer in place for many types of roles. And if you fall into the category of one of these roles where a physical location is not an issue, it also means you are competing against people from other parts of the country, which also means that there are the other parts of the country, whatever country you're at, where there are people with lower cost of living and lower salary requirements as well. And which brings me to point number 3 is this results in an increased importance of your ability to really stand out. So you can convince, persuade, and let employers know, yes, I am worth the amount of money that I'm asking for. And a subset of these, for observation number 3, the subset of the 3 tips I wanted to share in regards to how you can increase your ability to stand out in the marketplace is, number 1, your communication skills. Communication ability is going to be highly important moving forward. That is definitely the trend I see. Number 2, stronger interviewing skills. You have to be a strong interviewer in order to justify, communicate, articulate your value that you bring to the table so you can compete in this larger pool of talent you are now competing against. And number 3 is look into your own industry's trends, skill sets, high demand skill sets, and certifications and all that stuff that you can use, and you can upgrade yourself so you can, again, really stand out in the marketplace and really get the attention of employers and help them justify paying whatever it is you're asking them to pay for you in terms of your salary and rate versus, again, other people in other parts of the country that might be coming in at a lower asking salary and rate. So look, hope this information helped you folks. I'm going to go into the questions and comments right now. And again, if you want to know how I can personally help you, feel free to let me know. All right. We got Gurpreet in the house. Gurpreet, good to see you here. So Gurpreet said, this is why it's important to know how much you're worth, what ROI the company will get from hiring you, how much money will they make in profits. Yeah, absolutely, folks. I actually did a post about this yesterday. Folks, the interview is not just a job interview. It is a business conversation. You got to be able to position yourself as someone that's going to get a return for the investment the company is going to be investing in you, right? So great comment there, Gurpreet. Good to see you here. So Vivek says, well, what is the probability of this happening? That is someone asking drastically lower rate for the same job. Yeah, I mean, in terms of probability, Vivek, I mean, I don't know, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is, and the point and what everyone needs to be understanding here is, even if it's like a minimal difference, right? Let's say you're neck and neck with someone from another part of the country, and same experience, same level of expertise, everything else being equal, but the person in Nova Scotia or wherever else in the country where there's a lower salary expectation, even if it's like a 5K difference, the employer still has to justify going with who they want to go with, right? And if everything's pretty much neck and neck between 2 candidates, why would the employer not want to go with the candidate that's maybe 5K or a couple of thousand cheaper, right? If they don't see any value in hiring the person who's asking for more money, there has to be a justification. There has to be a case. There has to be a justification, right? And again, I'm also considering the likability factor as well, right? They like both you and the competing candidate at the same level. But look, I just wanted to share those statistics, right, from PayScale. And these are the things that you folks need to be aware of that is very real in the current market environment, right? Because the employer, at the end of the day, they have to justify spending more money to hire one candidate over another. And because of this whole 100% remote thing, where now people's physical location is not or no longer an issue, they have to justify. They're like, okay, both of these people are remote. Both of them have pretty much the same level of expertise, knowledge, experiences, and all that stuff. Why would we pay more for one over the other? There has to be a justification for it, right? So this is where Vivek, strong interview skills, strong communication skills, strong persuasive ability, more skills, more knowledge, more expertise, better certifications, maybe. Like, these are the things that you need to be thinking about, folks, so you can justify your asking salary and rate, right? But hope that helps, Vivek. Thanks so much for tuning in. So let's see what other comments we have here. We got Raj Bedi. So Raj, good to see you here, Raj. Thanks so much for tuning in. So Raj says, hi, Dean, do you have any recommendations on how to apply for 100% remote roles, hoping to be able to target US based roles? Yeah, so Raj, something I always recommend is make direct contact. You got to make direct contact, right? People are simply applying for jobs in terms of putting your resume out there, putting your job application out there. Again, you're competing against many other candidates, right? So my advice, Raj, is you got to make direct contact. Now, if you want more advice and I guess perspective on why this is so important, I definitely want you to check out, Raj, if you haven't done so already, check out my free masterclass. You can check it out at dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass, dkglobaltalent.com/masterclass. In my masterclass, Raj, I spend about 45 minutes and I go over the numbers behind the ATS and why so many people are simply not getting responses when applying online. And the same thing applies if you're trying to apply for jobs in the US. I mean, that's a huge market, Raj, right? I mean, you probably know that better than I do. It's a huge market in the US. You have to be making direct contact with decision makers, hiring managers, recruiters, etc. So check out my masterclass, Raj, for more information on what you need to be doing and how you need to be doing that. So you can approach these opportunities in the US, right? So hope that helps, Raj, and thanks so much for tuning in. So Vivek says, but it is also important to understand the market and rates. Like, one needs to be realistic around salary expectation. No matter how skilled a person is, every job has a range, and it is important the person knows this. If one has above market expectation, then nothing is going to help them. Yeah, I mean, Vivek, look, it all comes down to whether or not the person or the individual is able to justify what they're asking for, right? As a recruiter, I've gotten offers for my candidates that were 5K, 10K, 20K, even 25K above the hiring team's so-called budget, right? So I'm someone in the field, on the front lines, dealing with these things on a regular basis, right? And the reason I was able to get that for candidates that I've represented is simply because I have strong negotiating skills, strong communication skills, and I'm able to use logical reasons and logic to justify whatever the asking rate is of the candidates that I represent. Now, I'm not saying every candidate out there I can do this for. I can't randomly say, okay, yeah, I can get you 25K more than what you're asking for. No, it's not going to be the case. Like, the logic has to be there, the expertise, the skill. Like, there has to be some differentiation between competing candidates, right? Whereas one candidate can ask for more, and the hiring team can actually make sense of whatever this asking rate is for the candidate. Because ultimately, it is a business decision, folks, right? And obviously, all of you out there, you do have your expenses, your living standards, and you're maintaining your lifestyle and stuff. And yeah, to a certain degree, organizations are going to be understanding of that. But ultimately, it's not the organization's problem. It is a business decision, right? If I'm a business owner, or if I'm a hiring manager, and I've got this 100% remote work job opportunity right now that's open to people all across Canada, for example, I narrowed it down to 2 candidates, right? One candidate is right here in Toronto. They're asking for like 100K per year for the role. And then I know another candidate from another part of the country, who by all means is pretty much neck and neck, same skills, same likability factor, same expertise, same knowledge, and all that stuff as the candidate with the 100 who's asking for 100K, but this candidate is asking for 80K, or let's say it's nothing drastic like that. Let's say they're asking for 95K. Okay, only a 5K difference. I need to be able to justify. I need to have some logic in order to justify going with the 100K candidate, right? Regardless. Like, there has to be some reason why I would want to offer something, go with the person who's asking for more money. There has to be a justification, right? And the way you're able to justify that, folks, for those of you out there, is you need to be a strong communicator. You need to have strong negotiation and interviewing skills, and you need to be able to justify it, right? Ultimately, you got to use logic to justify whatever your asking salary and rate is, whether it's higher or lower. And if you're not a strong negotiator, you're not a strong interviewer, you're going to have a difficult time competing with people that might be coming in at potentially lower, right? And this is why so many of you out there, you default to lowering your salary rate and expectations, right? So look, I just wanted to hit you folks up with the reality of the situation here, right? Like, as we move forward in this new trend, and which is probably going to be here to stay, where many professions, people will be able to work 100% remote. And at your end, as a job seeker, you need to be well equipped to handle this higher levels of competition, right? So look, hope everybody enjoyed today's segment. Hope you found it insightful and helpful. Make sure you hit me up with a like and a share, folks. Doesn't look like there's any more questions or comments, so I'm gonna end the session. So thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. And don't forget, folks, remember, every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, I'm right here to help you folks out with job search tips, advice, and strategies. And hey, keep pushing through, folks. Don't give up. Keep pushing through. And if you have any questions, feel free to keep putting it in the comments. I'll respond as soon as possible. But look, you got to be able to compete, folks. So the takeaways should be from this segment: improve or enhance your communication skills, improve or enhance your interviewing and negotiation skills, and improve or enhance your actual technical ability, your technical skills. Research your industry, research your field. What are the trends? What is really in demand? What certifications are in demand? What skills and all that knowledge-based stuff that you can really improve on. Look into that stuff. Make those investments. You want to stand out, folks. You want to stand out in the marketplace, so you're getting exactly what you deserve in terms of your asking salary and your asking rate. All right. Hey, hope everyone has a fantastic remainder of the week, and I'll see you around next time, folks. Every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone, right here. Take care, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of the week.